Obama's second term, you know what? You just made a very good point. Obama's second term is what also helped really kickstart the process of the slaying of this sacred cow of racial diversity, because the American people said, you know what? We're sick and tired of Bush. We're tired of the neocons. We're tired of the Republican Party. Let's vote for a black guy. And that's what they did. The Americans voted for a black guy. And we had this historic election. We had the first black president. And America went through this honeymoon phase with Obama. And Americans were very proud about the fact that they voted in their first black president. And we voted for him twice, in fact. The Americans voted for Obama twice, just to show the world that they're not racist and that they have embraced racial diversity and equality. And the whole world just admired America and looked upon America with awe that Americans voted for a black guy. And Obama became one of the, if not the most hated president in American history. And that really kickstarted the slaying of the sacred cow of racial diversity. Americans are saying, we've tried racial diversity. We voted for a black guy. It didn't work. It was a disaster. And what did we end up getting? This is what white people are saying. I'm telling you right now, this is what they're saying. And I'm not saying this because I agree with what they're saying. I'm just saying this is what they're saying. Observation of reality here. What white men are saying is, we voted for Obama. We did all these things for racial minorities. And yet we're still getting hated by the left. The left is still saying that we're not doing enough. The left is still calling us racist. The left is still saying that we're hurting minorities, that we're misappropriating minority cultures, that we're not doing enough, and it's never enough. Right? This is what they're saying, and so they're saying, you know what? To hell with everything, to hell with it all, to hell with racial diversity. We're done with it. And then you see, to make it worse. To make it worse, they see videos of criminals who are racially of the black demographic or the African American demographic doing horrendous crimes, like slicing a girl up in a subway. They see a black guy murdering a white girl in a subway train in North Carolina. And then they find out that there was a judge who is also of the African American demographic who let this criminal out to the streets. That this murderer was arrested dozens of times, and then he was put back to the streets. He was re-released back to the public many times. Instead of just being kept behind bars, being kept away from the public, where he can't be a threat to the people, he was allowed to be a threat to the people dozens of times by a left-wing progressive justice system. And then they hear a story about a white girl who is burned alive, again, by a criminal who is of the African American demographic. I'm not saying all African Americans are this way. I'm not saying that African Americans are genetically predisposed to violence. I'm not saying that African Americans are genetically wired to be more violent than whites. I'm not saying that African Americans are more prone to criminal behavior than white people are. I'm just making an observation of reality. That's what happened, and that's what is happening. That's what continues to happen. And they see, well, wait a second. We were told our entire lives to not be racist. We were told our entire lives. This is what people are saying. We were told our entire lives to not be racist. We were told our entire lives to embrace racial diversity. But yet, we don't want to live in black neighborhoods. This is the reality. I'm observing reality. They're saying we don't want to live in black neighborhoods because black neighborhoods tend to be more crime-ridden. They tend to have higher rates of crime. We don't want to live there. So if this project of racial diversity, if this liberal progressive project of civil rights and racial equality and tolerance and diversity was so great, then why are we still segregated? Why are we willingly choosing to self-segregate from each other? And so the conclusion that people are coming to is that the project of racial diversity does not work, and it has not worked. And so what happened? They see the guy who wrote who created the Dilbert the Dilbert comic. What's his name? The author. What's his name? Scott Adams. They see Scott Adams, the guy who created the Dilbert comic strip, saying white people should not live in black neighborhoods. This is what he said. He said white people should not live in black neighborhoods because black people, statistically speaking, generally speaking, hate white people. This is what he said. I'm not saying he's right. I'm saying this is what he said. I have to be careful. I have to be careful how I speak because YouTube will strike my videos by purposefully misinterpreting me and saying that I'm a racist. So I have to be careful how I say certain things. But Scott Adams says this. He says white people should not live in black neighborhoods. And I remember when he said that, seeing the video of him saying that, and then going straight to the comment section, be it on X/Twitter, be it on YouTube, going to the comment sections and reading the comments and reading how no one disagreed with him. Nobody was saying, I disagree with Scott Adams. Scott Adams is a racist. No one's saying that. Why? Because the sacred cows that we have become so conditioned to uphold as sacred and as unquestionable are being toppled as we speak. That is what's happening. The sacred cows are being toppled, not just in America, but all over the Western world, all over the world. In fact, they are being toppled. But especially in the Western world, sacred cows are being toppled. And what killed it was Obama, SJWs, wokeism, high crime rates, all of these realities, all of these movements and realities killed or really kickstarted the killing process of these post-World War II sacred cows. And really at the center of the sacred cow of racial diversity is the Holocaust. And once enough people say, we don't believe in the Holocaust, we think Hitler was a great guy, it's over. The sacred cow is dead. That sacred cow is dead. Kaput. And I am not saying that this is a good thing. I'm not. I'm not saying that this is a good thing. I'm saying that this is really a very bad thing. And this should actually scare us. That's what I believe. Because once they start saying Hitler was a great guy, you're one step away from people saying we should erect camps and we should put certain people in camps. And it doesn't matter if they're citizens, they're enemies of the race. We should put them in camps, put them in work camps, and even exterminate them. And eugenics and social Darwinism and blood and soil ideology become fashionable again. And fascism becomes fashionable again. That's what worries me. But this is the reality that we're living in. And, you know, I'm not getting any younger. But there's, God willing, if I'm still alive, there's going to come a point where I'm going to be an old man. Listen, I'm getting close to being a middle-aged man. I'm getting close to being in my middle ages. And if I'm alive to the point where I'm an old dude, I'm going to be telling people, and if YouTube is still around, I'm going to be live streaming. And I'm going to be saying, I saw it. I warned you guys. I saw this. I began to see this coming back in 2016. Let me tell you. And it's true. I began to see this in 2016. I told people in 2016, I said, fascism is going to become fashionable. And no one believed me. And do you know what's so funny? What's so ironic is that the people who were telling me that I was wrong are today embracing fascism. That's what's so funny. The people who were telling me, you're so wrong, are the very people who got sucked into this right-wing loophole where they just absorbed all the right-wing ideology, all of the far-right stuff, all of the nationalism stuff, and now they're watching Nick Fuentes. And they were telling me that I was wrong. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy, but people have gotten sucked into this loophole. They've gotten sucked into this loophole. This ideological maze, this ideological contagion. And they're absorbing all the crazy stuff that they're seeing in X. And the thing is that what they're hearing in X are arguments for fascism that are that at the surface, I want to be very careful how I say this, but at the surface seem very persuasive. And they are very persuasive for a lot of people, because this is how people think. They say, we're noticing a lot of criminals who are of the African American demographic killing white people. We don't want to live in neighborhoods where the African American demographic is the majority, because that would mean living in a place that has higher crime rates. And so I go online, right? This is me being this person. I go online and I see some guy in X telling us, hey, you don't want to live with black people because black people are actually violent. And the reason why they're violent is because they're inferior to white people. And white people are the pioneers of civilization. And Hitler was right. And you see all these black people causing problems in your neighborhoods, causing problems in your cities. That's because we didn't listen to Hitler. This is what people are saying all the time. I see it every single day on X. This is why Hitler was right. This is why the Austrian painter was right. This is why the mustache man was right. And then a lot of people see that, and that computes with them. And it registers in their brains. And they say, you know what? They're right. Hitler was right. You see, and the thing is that they refuse, the people who fall into these loopholes, they refuse to see the reality of the history. They'll say, well, Hitler was right. He was great. And the reason why they say that is because they're evil. I'm not buying this nonsense that these people are, the people who are buying into Nazism now are these innocent people who they just love their people and they just want to see good. They're doing it because they're evil. Because anyone with eyes to see, anyone with ears to hear, anyone with a functioning brain can read the history. They can pick up a history book like this one. Or they can pick up a book like this one, which is a very modern book. This book came out, in 2023 or 24. This book also has a very detailed history in it on the rise of Nazism in Ukraine. And the book tells you about the evils of Ukrainian nationalism, and it tells you about all the evils that the Ukrainian Nazis did in the 1940s, and really about all the evils that the Ukrainian Nazis have been doing since the 2010s. And you can just open your eyes and see the reality for yourself. And if you still love Adolf Hitler, you're evil. Plain and simple, you're evil. Because you are denying the obvious. All evil people deny the obvious. All evil. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's Nazism. It doesn't matter if it's Bolshevism, communism. It doesn't matter if it's Sodom and Gomorrah. It doesn't matter if it's the synagogue of Satan. It doesn't matter if it's a bunch of pro-Israel fanatics who love to see Gazan children getting incinerated. All evil is the denial of the obvious. And if you support Israel, even after seeing what Israel did to Gaza and what it continues to do to the people in Gaza, you are denying something that is obvious. You are denying an obvious evil, and therefore you are evil. You are evil. All evil is the denial of the obvious. If you say men can get pregnant, you are denying the obvious. You're evil. If you say that that Sodom is great, you're denying the obvious. It's obviously unnatural what people of Sodom do. So therefore you are denying the obvious, and thus you are evil. If you say, I think the Nazis were great people, when you can simply read the history and see that the Nazis were very evil and murderous people, you are denying an obvious fact of history, and therefore you are evil. To deny the obvious is evil, and all evil is the denial of the obvious. All evil is the denial of the obvious. And so you have a lot of evil people today, and they are embracing Hitler. They're embracing the Nazis. And it's only going to grow. It's only going to grow.